Multiple dwellings relief has been abolished in the spring budget. In this video, I'm going to share with you 3 ways of how you can buy multiple properties and still benefit from lower stamp duty rates. That's all coming up, but first let me tell you about this month's Baker Street Property Meet. It's Tuesday, 26th of March. It is the UK's largest property investors networking event. 300 property investors meeting up in central London. Grab your tickets at bakerstreetpropertymeet.com. See you guys there. Okay, multiple dwellings relief abolished. What does all that mean? Well, if you buy multiple properties under a single transaction, then you benefited from a stamp duty relief. Now, they call it a relief, but I don't think it's relief. I think it was perfectly fair, and it's unfair that they abolished the damn thing. Now, let me explain. If I buy a property for £100,000, there is no stamp duty to pay because it's under the £250,000 stamp duty threshold. So if I was to buy 10 100k properties, all at different times, then there would still be no stamp duty to pay because each one of those flats doesn't go over the 250k stamp duty threshold. So why then, if you're buying a block of 10 flats for £1 million and each one of those flats is 100k, then why should the stamp duty payable be the same as though you're buying a £1 million residential property? That doesn't make sense. That's unfair. But in any case, they have scrapped that relief. But guess what? There are 3 other reliefs or ways in which you can pay lower stamp duty when you buy multiple properties under the same transaction. The first way is when you buy 6 or more residential properties under the same transaction. So if I'm buying 6 individual houses, a small portfolio, or a block of flats with at least 6 flats in them, then that counts as a commercial transaction, believe it or not. So if you buy 6 or more residential properties together, it can count as a commercial transaction. Now, commercial stamp duty rates are far lower than residential stamp duty rates. Now, the stamp duty payable on a 500k residential transaction is almost double that payable on a 500k commercial property transaction. So that can be a big saving. If you're liking this video, smash the like button, hit the subscribe as well, because we put out 3 videos each and every week. So as I mentioned, commercial stamp duty rates are far lower than residential stamp duty rates. The other way out is to buy properties which are mixed use. By mixed use, we mean it's used commercially and residentially. So for example, a shop with 1 flat above is a mixed use property. And if it's a mixed use property, then the stamp duty on the whole of the transaction is charged at commercial stamp duty rates. So even if you've got 20 flats and 1 shop and it's covered in the same transaction, then stamp duty will be payable at commercial rates. Now, the third way to pay less stamp duty when you're buying multiple properties is to not buy the property but buy the holding company. So if I was to say have a portfolio of properties or a block of flats and I held it in a limited company, then what I can do is sell that whole company on to a buyer. Now, when you sell shares in a company, the rate of stamp duty payable is just 0.5%. So what I see many people doing is, let's say you have a portfolio of properties in a limited company, you might then create a subsidiary where you will put 3 or 4 properties into that subsidiary and then sell that subsidiary, the shares in that subsidiary, onto a new buyer. And that would be quite attractive because the incoming buyer will only have to pay stamp duty at the rate of 0.5%. Now, I mentioned in a previous video the scrapping of multiple dwellings relief seems particularly harsh because I think it's laser targeted at smaller transactions. So if I say want to buy a freehold property which is split into 2 maisonettes, then with MDR gone, I think the other ways of doing it would be too expensive to justify the saving. So for those people, they're stuffed. But if I'm buying a big building, which is say 200 apartments, then that is going to be in a limited company and you would be simply buying the shares in that limited company. So bigger property transactions simply aren't affected by the scrapping of multiple dwellings relief. This is a massive blow for smaller investors buying smaller lots of properties under a single transaction. So what do you think of the scrapping of MDR? Do you think it's unfair? Let me know in the comments below. And what do you think about the 3 workarounds, which are essentially 6 or more residential properties? You can qualify for commercial rates. Anything mixed use qualifies for commercial rates, or you don't bother selling or buying the property itself. You buy the limited company within which it sits and you pay stamp duty at 0.5%. Are you using any of those 3 exemptions or workarounds? Let me know in the comments below. That's it for this video. See you guys next time.